70% of CIOs identify mainframe as an obstacle. And I need to be clear, I have run the gamut in my career from loving mainframes to despising mainframes to, at this point, come to a grudging acceptance of some level of mainframe, at least within the industry that I'm within now. What CIOs mean when they say that is that for a number of years, nothing was done to continue to modernize the application set that sits on top of the mainframes. Mainframes, the infrastructure, have modernized quite a bit over the years and continue to. I am no lover of mainframes. I do work for an organization where better than 90% of the revenue profile runs across the mainframe. There's certainly a place for it. They do an excellent job. They are expensive. If you know how to treat them, they are highly available, so they have their place for sure. The real challenge that I suspect many of you are encountering is no one has taken any steps to kind of modernize the application set that sits on top of them. It's written in COBOL, it's 40 years old or worse. The people that originally wrote it are long gone. The number of people left in my organization who understand the mainframe interactions is a dwindling number year over year. And so I know for Canada Life, what we're really looking at is where is the real impetus for moving away from the mainframe? Frankly, 2 years ago, when I first came to the organization, I was the first person to say, we need an aggressive plan to take every workload, whether it's lift and shift or through a re-architecture, re-platform, and get off the mainframe. Everyone at this table knows that comes with a price tag of many, many zeros. How much more can you charge the customer for that? Well, that'd be a big zero. So the impetus for that investment is rarely there. Now, over the last couple of years, have taken a look at it in a different way. There are critical crown jewels or applications within our application set that need to be modernized for other reasons. And so we'll take the opportunity there. Maybe that part of that modernization means getting off the mainframe, replatforming, and moving to cloud. But the driver, the getting off mainframe for getting off mainframe's sake, that kind of driver I find has disappeared a little bit, at least within the organization.
I was going to say in the mainframe space, if you look at it historically, it was a heavy lifting consulting and systems integration project. You'd be talking 5, 10 years and hundreds of people to do it. Now with automation, the platforms are getting highly automated, close to 100%. The testing is automated in many cases as well. And finally, most of the people in our space are leveraging Gen AI as well. So we've taken a heavy multi-year heavy lift and are eliminating probably 75-80% of the people required to get you off the mainframe into a newer environment and eliminate the burden platforms.
I think digitization and the straight-through processing is the critical requirement we have to get that high level of automation, maintain that efficiency, serve our digital experiences that we need to. So you can replace mainframe with just legacy system. I think it has to be mainframe in that context. If it's not open, it's not composable, you don't have ability to kind of construct and orchestrate above it or around the system, you're going to have issues with trying to innovate and try and deliver a unique experience for the customers. So I think that's probably the bigger piece that I would focus on. Also, when I think about cloud, like even things I moved to cloud 5-6 years ago, if we didn't fully take advantage of a cloud native architecture at that time, I'm finding 5-6 years later now, we may be re-engineering that to be cloud native because we maybe want better security. I'm looking at Mariam now. We want to go for better security and try and adopt like some of the out of the box cloud patterns. We want better resilience and scalability. I look at Katie now because she's the SRE function, right? But like this is the things that we would aim for now beyond just the openness of our API ecosystem, ability to integrate straight through.
First off, this has been the easiest thing to kick the can down the road forever. CIOs are kick it down the road to the next CIO, to the next CIO. But the thing that's changed now is in our opinion, the risk of staying on the mainframe in some cases is higher than the risk of moving. Because you can now, the cloud's ready for the mainframe. You got old people like me, baby boomers retiring, so your COBOL kicks DB2 people are walking out the door. You get business agility when you go to the mainframe. I'm sensitive to say with Dan staring at me, but oftentimes 60 to 80% cost savings when you move to the cloud. We'll talk at a break. You know, so there's many advantages. So you've got this dilemma. People, CIOs know they need to get off the mainframe, but it's risky. And we always tell people, if you get it right, Mr. or Ms. CIO, you're going to end up in the CEO's office. However, the opposite is also true. So it's something you have to get right. So what we do, we try to de-risk these things as best as possible and break it down into a series of baby steps. The other comment too, this has been going back and forth. At one point, when AWS got heavily into the mainframe business, they thought it was going to be rip the mainframe out. Everybody's moving to cloud. Now it's kind of come back a little bit where it's more of a hybrid strategy where particularly the larger clients, yeah, we're going to probably want to keep some on the mainframe, migrate some to the cloud, maybe even run some on-prem. So that's kind of what we're seeing.
Organization, they don't want to touch mainframe because one, it can be stable, and second, it can be really reliable. And for me, when I had the opportunity of moving cloud migration strategies that, Charles, you also mentioned about the rehost, replatform, the concept of the 7R as our migration strategy. And at that, I find it is really helpful because this is when your money that you invest in your CMDB, your system inventory pay off, because you can look at your whole system inventory and map it out. What are the stuff that you can rehost, rethink, repurchase, and anything that you can imagine. And then you start grouping into the sub-project, if you will, to kind of embark into your migration journey. And that strategy is immensely helpful in our case.
Your total spend is going to go up because you're going to find you're able to move faster. You're going to be able to spin up environments quicker. You're going to be releasing quicker. And so all these things are going to drive just more consumption. And that's where I find that you actually end up spending more because there's just so much bigger capability and you're able to go faster on things. And so that's why I've never promised that I was going to be cheaper as we move to cloud, but it was always around speed, security, resilience, scalability, some of those basics, and kind of anchored it more there. With now the next order of magnitude, I'd say, is really when you're standing on the shoulder of these giants, like there's new functions and features and services that come on like what thousands per month, pretty much per cloud provider. That's the type of benefit now that I'm chasing and seeing. And so like examples with the AI piece is like we store all of our customer documents, and I'll just say like legal and vendor documents into different parts of Azure. And so now my co-pilots can access that. It's not something I had to do. I'm relying on kind of the cloud providers to stitch these things together. And it's continuous new features to me that are giving me value, saying, hey, what does this vendor do for us? How much should I spend with them? Oof, answers come back.
We're dependent on COTS applications. The vendors quite comfortably transition their platforms from being capable of running in-house or colo as we do it today to being forced into the cloud. And we've got a multi-cloud environment. We have a small team that supports it. I see all the value and all the benefits and the flexibility, and it actually enables us to provide a far more flexible and efficient workforce through the mobile accessibility that it provides, rather than having people dependent on being in particular locations to provide the level of support. Certainly agree it's not going to be any cheaper, but do I have an option? No, I don't, because the partners with whom I work, their applications are sitting in the cloud, and my job is to make sure that we've got a consistent security policy, which I know we're going to come on to, and security architecture that can ensure that all of these applications meet our needs and can perform in the way in which we need them to. And that in and of itself brings a whole suite of problems and opportunities, I guess, that need to be dealt with.
But what it does do, it gives you nimbleness, flexibility, and it forces you to change the headcount mix in IT. So you have a much stronger and a much more robust vendor management capability because somebody's got to monitor the cloud. Your architecture changes because somebody's got to architect all these clouds. So it gives you a different flavor. But I agree, it's certainly not cheaper. But I'd be willing, and obviously was willing, to pay the premium to get the flexibility and so forth. It's just worth it. I mean, really, who wants to host all that shit? I mean, it's just aggravation. It doesn't really add value to the business.
I have two observations. So one, I think like the first generation of cloud platforms is very like IT focused, but kind of to your point, like cloud is now becoming like a business tool, and self-servicing, like the services, especially with like AI and enabling all the businesses to like get access to those tools. Um, I'm noticing a shift from like a DevOps orientated, provisioning capability to more of like a self-servicing business capability when it comes to cloud. So I think that's point number one. Like point number two is, when we built these platforms in our Gen 1, there was a lot of like preventative like security postures and how we enable cloud. And I think like those security postures were very restrictive, and I'm seeing a shift to more like detective security postures now. So like letting people get into the cloud, but adapting the way that we, I guess, restrict to be more of a detective. Like they're actually in there, and we run scans, and we figure out if they're using the cloud in the way that we want them to, but like not prohibiting them from getting there from source essentially.